So I want to talk about derivation versus inflection, particularly about their differences and the common aspects between them. But before I dive into the details, I want to show you that what derivation and inflection are related with. So derivation and inflection are both in the area study of word formation process. Basically, they are focusing on how a word is formed with different kinds of morphemes. Speaking about word formation process, it's not only having those two categories, which are derivation and inflection. It also includes compounding and combination of complex word formation process. I'm not going to get into details of those two categories of word formation process, but I do want to mention a little bit about what they are, what they are referring to, right? And give you a gist of what they are about. So compounding word formation process is basically, as you can guess from its title, it is putting two or more free morphemes together to form a new word. For those of you who don't know what a free morpheme is, it's actually it's the basic part of a word that it cannot be reduced further and has its own semantic meaning. So this is about compounding word formation process, also about combination of complex word formation process. It is about putting one or more different ways of forming a word from those four categories. Example word can be black-eyed, sorry. So if you can dissect this word black-eyed, it actually uses two ways of forming a word. One is affixation way, another one is compound way. So this is what combination of complex word formation process. Now let's put this part away and let's get into derivation and inflection. Generally speaking, derivation has 13 ways of forming a word, and inflection has 5 ways of forming a word. Not to mention there's a compounding and complex way, a combination of complex word formation. But we are not going to talk any of them, since we are talking about the topic derivation versus inflection. There's one way of forming a word which is called affixation. Occurs in both derivation and inflection. And this is the core part I want to talk about it. Because if we can clear up this part, we can clear up all the confusions between derivation and the inflection ways of forming a word, the confusion of it, right? So it is confusing. It is indeed confusing, since the same way of forming a word occurs in both of the categories. No wonder. But how do we distinguish it, right? How can we know which way of forming a word in the affixation rule belongs which categories, right? So from my experience of my past learning journey and my opinions, my thought about my thought to distinguish derivation and inflection is that we just need to focus on 8 ways of affixation word formation in the inflection category. If we can get a solid grip of those 8 ways of affixation word formation in the inflection category, so it will demystify the confusion part between derivation and inflection. So let's get into it. First of all, I want to start it with that those 8 ways of affixation word formation can be classified into 3 parts. So those 3 parts basically are verb, noun, and adjectives. So first let's talk about the verb. If I started, I want to say that those are just basic grammatical knowledge for anyone who's English major, even taking the English classes. It's just the basic knowledge. But I do want you to know what they are, right? What they are out there, right? So first of all, let's talk about the part verb. It has 4 ways of forming a word. The first way is that the third person singular by adding the suffix s. So if you come across any verb who's having the suffix s as a third person singular, so 100% it is in the category of inflection. Second is that okay, if I can give you some examples, like it's like buys, X, buys, likes, takes, right? Punches, right? Adding the s, a third person singular. So second way is past tense ed. So if you see any word with the added suffix ed, no doubt about it, it's the word formation process in the category of inflection. Words like talked, right? Picked, studied, right? And third way is progressive ing, or you call it gerund. So words are example words are like drinking, talking, speaking, building, right? So no doubt about it, if you see those words, they are in the category of inflection. And the first way is adding participle en, right? Example words are like spoken, taken, right? Broken. Just throw them into the category of inflection. The second part about nouns. So if you see any words, any nouns with the first of all, any nouns with the plural s, right? So example words are like dogs, cats, roses. There's no second thought in your mind. It's gonna be in the category of inflection. So the second way of noun part is possessive. Apostrophe s, possessive, adding apostrophe s. So example words are like Mary's book, pets, house, teacher's glasses. So there's no second thought. So those are in the category of inflection. And the third part is adjectives. So first way of forming a word in adjectives is a comparative er. So example words are like greener, louder, faster. So you don't have to have a second thought in your mind. It's gonna be in the inflection category. So the second way of forming a word in the adjective is the superlative est. So example words are like greenest, loudest, fattest. You don't need to have a second thought in your mind. It's gonna be the inflection category. So what I want to say is that many people are confused about which way of forming a word is derivation or inflection. So I want to point out that it mainly occurs in the affixation way of forming a word, because affixation way of forming a word occurs in both derivation and inflection, right? Obviously, it's confusing, but you can have a thorough grip of those 8 ways of affixation word formation in the category of inflection. I think you got 90% of the clarity, right? Of affixation. Which way of word formation is the affixation, and which way of word formation is the inflection. I'm saying 90% because there's some complex word formation structure that is can also be confusing, but I don't have a concrete examples about them. Plus, they are not occurring as often as in the affixation way of forming a word. Nonetheless, to say, my way of clarify which way of word formation is belonging to derivation or inflection is not the only one. There are also many other better method, I would say. But I would say by distinguish derivation and inflection in this way, it's the most fundamental and concrete way of looking at derivation and inflection. So that's it. Hope it helps you to clarify the confusion between derivation and inflection.